Hey, my update video on LaRs by Louise Eldrick, Eld, Eldrick, Eldrick, which I finally got off my ass and did my Wikipedia searching on, and she is Ojibwe, um, Ojibwe German parents, stuff like that. Ojibwe. So she's someone who actually does have connection to Native community. So I'm not quite it's not a oh, I'm being told by one white person about native culture to another white person. So there's that, which is good. It's funny reading the article. It did complicate things in the sense of if I'm going to use author biography, which I guess is probably pretty questionable, but it's interesting how much these things do come to mind when you are there's a perception that you're like, okay, I'm hearing a story about a community. Am I hearing about it from someone inside the community or outside? So maybe she's inside the community. We'll give her that. I'm sure there's some people who say she's not that much into the community. She's not reservation or whatever, but she's Ojibwe. She's talking about um, Ojibwe reservation in Nebraska, somewhere. Um, but further reading on it is, you know, that she hooked up with another fellow, and that fellow committed suicide because he was under investigation for abusing his two daughters that he had with her, um, and that they allege that she knew of the abuse and did nothing to stop it, which unfortunately is a all too common story to hear. Um, which is interesting in a story where a mother is being violent towards a child, and so you're going, oh, I'm reading a story from somehow that perspective. Except I'm not really. I don't know. This is where I think I need to, like, okay, you know what, you did your white guilt thing. You wanted to check and see who's writing the story. You checked. You found this stuff out. You've also found other stuff that she's obviously has a complicated life. How about you just sort of judge the story as a story? Now, as a story, I have to say I'm going, oh, this is a literary story about horrible pain and the death of a child, and 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 generations of oppression and abuse. And there's a part of me is going like, oh, I wish this was a genre story about, had genre elements to it that I could let me escape a bit from it, because it's a little bit of a, well, it's really well written and really well felt, and I'm enjoying the characters. It's also There's also a certain amount of like, oh, I'm gonna have to pull myself through this, which, yeah, I'll have to see. I'll have to see how it goes. I mean, but there is that. Like, will I finish this story by her and go, okay, that was well written, and okay, I don't really want to read another story like that, which um yeah, I mean, I talk about strengths. It's like, my strengths are, if you take it as a strength, I like genre stories. And I can take literary stories to a certain degree, but I think when they get into super, super misery, like it's a death of a child and everyone's addicted to drugs, and it's just like, oh, fucking shoot me kind of thing, which is, you know, it's a reaction. It's a reaction I have. Some people can read that stuff and enjoy it, or it nourishes a part of them. Sometimes I read stuff like that and it just depresses me. And I think I should just be able to accept that. I'm going to keep on going with the story. It's an odd audio book, and we'll see how it goes. I really enjoyed the character of Romeo, who is a drug addict, who is always seeking drugs, who gets kind of, a nasty, maybe well deserved practical joke played on him, where they gave him basically a combination suppository, um, boner pill to him. But he's also somebody who's very intelligent, whose talent is gathering information. And now whether he uses that for good or for ill, or might use it to like elevate himself up. Like he says, like I should get myself elected. And it's like, well, actually, if he's got all the dirt on everybody, that would be he could do that. He could really do that. So he's an interesting character. We also have a story put in the past about another LaRoe, a girl, native girl, who's been sold off by one her parents to white trappers, gets raped, gets put in a residential school thing. It's probably going to end up back with the guy who she poisoned the rapist asshole with. And it's like it's I mean, it gives you that history. That's maybe where I was suspicious about. Like, okay, is this filling it in for white readers? Which is, I mean, saying Louise Eldred is a native writer. She might be a native writer who's pointing her story outwards to a white audience. I always think about that with stuff like this. It's like, this has been made accessible to me, which I guess I'm not complaining about, but it's like I'm just being aware of this as being maybe been a little spoon-fed to me. So those are my various not very intelligent thoughts of the moment. They're my thoughts, whether they're intelligent or not. They're the things that have been going through my head as I've been listening to the story. And like, yeah, the girl Maggie is really freaking hard, and so is her mother. And you can see that, like, oh, this is a world where they've had to become very hard. And LaRoe is the boy, the kind of the sacrificial boy of the story. I don't know if sacrificial is the right word. He's the magic boy, maybe not. He's kind, he's gentle. It's like he's like, oh, he's too soft for the world. I don't know. And he sees things. That's the little magical elements. Like the dog told him stuff. The dog saw Dusty die. You know, maybe that's, I don't know. And if that's the magic elements, it's not magical. It's spirit. It does actually feel like this is a native way of seeing the world. I don't know if you'd say that it's magical. It's not science. It's not white science rationalism. It's not Catholic spiritualism. I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm just drifting again, but at least I've spoken out some of my thoughts, and maybe that'll focus me a little bit better for the story going forward.